What's up, guys? So today I want to talk about Resident Evil 9, or Requiem as it's technically called, and yeah, Leon, he's officially in the game. We got the official reveal at the Game Awards, and that was always going to be the plan, but PlayStation had to go and ruin things, and they kind of leaked it by accident. It was very unfortunate because it was just like a couple days prior to the Game Awards, and if nothing happened, then it would have been a really big reveal. 14 very long years this man has been MIA. Resident Evil 6 was the last mainline game Leon was in 2012. He's been in animated movies and shows, but those are shows and movies, right? And also, those shows and movies don't always take place in the current timeline. For example, I think Resident Evil Death Island took place in 2015, so not too long after Resident Evil 6. This is the first time we've seen Leon back in action in the main games, especially since Resident Evil 6 in 2012. And it's honestly crazy because Leon being honestly like one of the most iconic video game characters, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but he's definitely one of the biggest video game characters, definitely the excuse me, biggest Resident Evil character there is. And for him to be in only 3 games, I guess 4 now, Resident Evil 2, 4, and 6, now 9, it's really weird. You would think he'd be in a lot more games with how much he's talked about, how much he's loved, and you wouldn't think he'd be missing for 14 years, someone of his caliber. But I'm actually really glad that he's returned, not only because of how iconic he is, how cool he is, but also the gameplay side of things for him. I'm pretty new still to the Resident Evil franchise. Of course, I've heard and watched and seen the games for a long time, but I've only started playing them probably like 2 or 3 years ago. I played Resident Evil 2 Remake. I didn't complete it. I know how everything ends. I've seen it on YouTube. Played 3, completed that. 4, completed that. 5 and 6, completed those. Started 7 a few months back. Did not finish that yet. Definitely need to get back to it. Same with Resident Evil 8. Need to play that. Watched a couple of the movies. I watched that one really short Netflix series, I think Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. I mean, shoot, I even watched the other Netflix series that wasn't as, good. Though I will say I did enjoy it. Same thing goes with the movies with Mila Jovovich. But yeah, I'm still relatively new to the franchise, I guess. But, I guess I could say I kind of miss the action type of gameplay in the games, right? Games like Resident Evil 4, 5, 6, where things kind of took a turn from the horror side of things, more so into the action side of things. It's funny because most, I guess, OG Resident Evil fans, they didn't like that change, because they were going from pretty much running scared from these villains, these zombies and huge monsters, to drop kicking enemies and, lifting boulders apparently. Essentially, you felt invincible, and when it comes to a very scary game, you shouldn't feel that way. Resident Evil 7 was kind of a return to form. People say it kind of saved the franchise. And 8, I believe, also did the same thing. And with 9, we thought that was going to be the case, right? With Grace Ashcroft, she's an FBI agent. Of course, she has training, combat training and all that. But compared to someone like Leon, right, she's going to be scared. She's not as experienced as he is. We've seen that in the gameplay demos and things like that, the trailers. So we were led to believe that would be the whole game. Capcom, they did a pretty good job at keeping Leon, I'd say a very good job actually, at keeping Leon really behind the scenes. I believe they even went as far as to say that they tried to make Leon a protagonist, or they wanted to use him as a protagonist, but they realized having him as a protagonist just doesn't make sense when you're trying to have that horror genre, just you have him drop kicking enemies and using chainsaws against enemies, doing backflips off of walls and things like that. You're not going to be scared as Leon, and Leon isn't going to be scared of the things that are thrown at him in the game because he's so experienced. He doesn't even get surprised anymore, But even with that being the case, I still kind of miss, and I actually liked the more action heavy gameplay in those games. Even though for me, it wasn't like a long time between games, right? It wasn't a long time between 6 and 7, but playing 7, I guess, just made me realize how much I actually liked the action gameplay. I guess now we have the best of both worlds, right? For those of you who prefer the more horror side of things, the horror gameplay, you get that with Grace, and for, I guess, people like me, you get the action heavy gameplay with Leon. The way they're promoting it, it does seem like it's going to be at least a 60-40 split. I'm actually leaning toward 50-50. I believe Leon's on the cover art and everything, so he's got to be a really big, he has to have a really big part in the game. I'm really interested to see what they'll do with Leon's character. I've seen some people kind of theorize that they're probably going to kill him. I highly doubt they're going to do that, and I really hope they don't do that, because it'd be like a Joel Miller situation. This man has been through the most ridiculous situations, and you're telling me now he dies when he's 50 something years old, or almost 50. Also, this man's been around for what, over 2 decades now. Let him live, okay? Let him live his life. They did say this is going to be the last numbered Resident Evil game, so I'm curious curious to see if they will bring back a lot of the other big characters. I think they will. Like, if they hit Leon, who's to say they aren't hiding Jill? I mean, Chris has returned, right? Ada, other characters. I kind of get the feeling they're going to try to wrap things up with these characters. They haven't been around, I guess, for a very long time in the main timeline, the main games. They are older now. I don't want to say they could use them again in another game. They could, because they haven't been in the games for a while, but I'm thinking they're just going to try to wrap things up with some of these characters. How they'll do that is what I'm interested to see, especially with someone like Leon being gone for a while, a very long time. But yeah, let me know what you guys are feeling in the comments. I know we're all excited and just hyped to see Leon return. On the same night, we saw two ghosts return, Lara Croft and Leon S. Kennedy. What a night, man. Resident Evil Requiem will definitely be a day one buy for me. I've never bought a Resident Evil game actually day one. I'm definitely gonna buy it. Gonna buy the physical version too, because support physical media, and also I don't have a Resident Evil game physically, so I gotta have this one. February 27th could not come any sooner. Next year is gonna be a huge year for gaming, so yeah, I've still got some more videos on some video games that were shown at the Game Awards that I want to talk about, so stay tuned for those if you're interested. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, like it up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.